at least two people. Maybe there's some other people that are they're tuning in, but we have Caitlin with us, our content strategist and writer, and also we have Sarah with us, and she's our social media manager. So and I'm Peter. I'm the owner at Edge, and we like to do these webinars to help our clients, that is you, to become better at marketing and understanding marketing better, so you can grow your business, and you can actually take full advantage of some of these things. Because I don't know about you, you're generally busy running your business, and marketing is definitely something that you know you need to do. But it's sometimes can be a challenge as far as finding the time for it and actually understanding enough about the different channels and the different tactics that are out there. So that's why we're doing these webinars. And we're not selling anything here. We're just trying to set you up for success. So today's topic is a topic that a lot of people either hate or love. The social media, I think, has kind of a hate-love relationship for a lot of people. And I get it. There are some huge advantages to social media, but there's also some drawbacks. So hopefully we want to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly, as far as what's possible for your business, but also be realistic and making sure that we understand what it can do and what it cannot do. Now, as far as your Katie will be monitoring the chat box, so feel free to put any questions you have during the presentation in there. If you're brave enough to open up your microphone and speak to us, we love that as well. We welcome that. But at the very least, we want to answer all the questions that you may have. And if they don't come up during this half hour we have with you, or this hour, then by all means you can reach out to us later on as well. So again, we'll get started here. So Katie, do I have the possibility to flip the slides, or that's something that you need to do? Oh, here we go. All right, so we want to talk about the role of social media for small businesses. Most people on the call, they're either working in a small business or they own your own business. So this is very relevant to you. One of the things we want to emphasize right from the get-go, it's generally speaking a good idea to have a plan before you jump into all these different things, because as we all know, there's a lot of different directions you can take social media. So we'll try to guide you a little bit and come up with a plan for you to make the most of it. Because really, social media is definitely something that most, if not all of you, at the very least should look at as another channel to communicate with your audience and to help you connect with people, right? Because people spend a tremendous amount of time on social media. So you need to be aware of what the possibilities are. So before we do that, though, we want to kind of bring it back to what social media really is. And then again, this is kind of our philosophy that we follow with our clients at Edge. We look at social media as another tool in the toolbox, but it's not the only tool in the toolbox. Okay, there's also your website, there's the content, there's the search engine optimization, and all of these things. So at no point we want to give you the impression that social media is the silver bullet that will solve all your problems, because it's not, right? And we all probably realize that. We all kind of know that. So again, I don't want to spend a lot of time explaining all these other areas. We're gonna zoom in on this very important topic of social media today. So the very first question is, of course, and this may seem obvious, but I think every business owner, every organization should ask this question. Now, should I be on social media in the first place, right? Let's not assume that just because your competitors are on there or if your neighbor is on there, that you need to jump on the same things as well. So I'm gonna let Sarah maybe explain some of these things. So what would you tell somebody if somebody asks, should we be on social media? What would you tell them?
Yeah, that's right, Peter. This is a question that every business owner needs to answer for themselves. So we have a few things for you to consider here. So yeah, A, is your audience on social media? Are they on Facebook, or maybe they are phone or email-based folks, or they're more print-based? What are others in the industry doing? What are your competitors doing? Are they on Facebook? That might give you an indication that you maybe would want to be there as well. Another consideration, Are you able to keep up with it? Are you able to post consistently? Are you able to come up with content ideas? And another major thing to consider is, is the time that you're spending on social media going to have a return for you, for your business?
Yeah, so we all know that social media is more or less free, right? You're free to sign up for all these platforms, but your time is not. So like however you look at that and how you value your own time, you need to put something in your budget for the time you spend on getting all these things. And that's probably a really important consideration for you. You need to set some goals. You know, if you're in business to, to grow your business or to make money, you need to set some clear goals, what you want to achieve with this. And then you would you can justify actually spending that time on putting this together. So I think the answer for most of you that are on the call, as far as I can see, yes, like you should seriously look at social media. But before you jump in too deep, it would make a lot of sense to do your homework and actually, before you jump in with both feet, make sure that you're going in the right direction. Is that a fair statement, Sarah?
Yes, exactly. Do your homework, and you don't need to be on all of the platforms, and we'll share a little bit later, how you would select which platforms to go on to.
Yeah, so the way we work with our clients is there's different levels of social media engagement. So please keep that in mind as well, because I think there's a fair bit of confusion around this, honestly. You can start as simple as just basically claiming your different properties on the social media channels. Like, I mean, set up your Facebook business page, create an Instagram account, make sure that you have a LinkedIn page for a lot of clients, if that's the channel that you want to go on to. So by even doing that, and that's the bare minimum that we recommend, like if you're new to social media or you have a new company, make sure that you own those pieces of property. Because let's face it, if you don't own them, somebody else potentially could, claim those pages. But more importantly, it's something that you just need to have in place just in case you want to build out this social media platform. So that's really the basic recommendation we have for a lot of small businesses. Just go out and set those things up. It doesn't take a lot of effort or time to do that, but then at the very least you're in a good position. Now you've actually claimed your stake on those channels. The next level of social media engagement for you as a business can be very simple. Could be like 1 to 2 posts per week, which and some people would say that's not enough, or that's, I look at it as that's 2 posts more than you're doing right now, right? Like you're going from 0 to 2. That's actually a really big step. And I think if you consistently stick with that plan and actually, getting that content created, make sure it gets posted on time, and there's tools for that. We can talk about it a little bit later. But you're gonna see an increased engagement with that audience, right? Like I'm just gonna call on Katie here. Like, would you agree with that? Like the consistency and actually getting it done. Does that help?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's not only beneficial for your audience, but it's also going to help out with the kind of secretive algorithm. No one completely understands what drives algorithm, but one factor that the algorithm does seem to enjoy is consistency in regards to how often you're posting.
Yeah, so like they're looking at like how active is this company, right? So again, that's another level, and some of our clients are actually at that level, and we help them with putting together a content calendar and all that to make sure that you don't have to worry about it every day what you're going to post, right? And we'll talk about it in a minute as well. And then the third level, I guess, is, and I've seen some companies doing this very successfully, like once they determine that social is really their primary channel almost. They're going all in. They're good at it. They have the resources. They spend the time on being in everybody's face all the time. But that's something that's not for everybody, right? Like if you cannot sustain that level of engagement and content sharing, then you're better off. Like I've seen it so many times. People start out really enthusiastically. The first couple of weeks they post all over the place, but then gradually it slows down, and that's not good for, like Katie said, for the algorithm. They're actually getting the attention on the platforms, but also that's not good for your audience either, right? So be whatever level you want to go for, be realistic what you can handle. So yeah, what are some of the benefits of social media? So we've already talked about it a little bit, Sarah. What are some of these things that we can really benefit our business?
Yeah, one of the huge benefits to business on social media, I believe, is that it's cost effective. It's virtually free. So that is a huge benefit to you as a business owner. You could also increase your brand awareness. So more people can find out about your business. You can reach new audiences too. Another big factor that I really enjoy about social media is you can improve your customer service and engagement. So on Facebook or Instagram, platforms like that, customers can direct message you, and that will enhance your customer service, and you can have kind of conversations with them about different products or your services. And I think we also have here, you can interact with your community. So that's giving you additional channels to interact with your customers as well.
Yeah, so social media in a way is kind of like what marketers call like the top of the funnel, or like the awareness stage. It's really good at that because people spend a lot of time on social channels. So if you can get your message out there in front of people, that will of course will really, at the very least they find out about you, and then of course it's quite a journey before they actually buy from you, and then that's sometimes a little bit of the challenge with social media as well. Like it's having 1,000 likes on a post is nice, but how does that translate into new business, right? Because most of us, we're looking to grow our business, we're looking for more clients, and that's sometimes a little harder to do. So the other thing is also keep in mind, we said like social media is free. Well, it's not really free if you look at the time you spend on maintaining it. But then, and the other component or opportunity you have on social channels to actually just pay for the advertising, like you would do in traditional advertising, or like even on Google, right? Like the pay-per-click kind of a scenario. The Facebook, Meta, LinkedIn, and all these channels actually offer you options for that as well. And what we found, if you combine some paid advertising with your organic content, like messaging that you put out there, you can actually shortcut a lot of the attention. You can actually pay to play, which is, especially for business, is really nowadays, I think, almost a given. That especially if you're commercial and you're selling something, your audience actually may not organically see your post. Would you agree with that, Sarah?
Yeah, absolutely. They might not see what you're posting, but if you pay for an ad on Meta, on Facebook and Instagram, that's going to give you that extra boost and that engagement that you're looking for as well.
Yeah, so we already talked about a few of these drawbacks. I mean, the time consuming part, like just by a show of hands, or maybe put something in the chat box, like who in the group here, like who is frustrated with the amount of time they spend on their social media, like following social media and actually putting social media posts up. What, anybody wants to share on that?
Shelly has raised her hand. And Daniel. Yeah.
Right, so we can kind of agree that it can be extremely time consuming, and you have to put a cost on that. So again, like going back to having a plan before you do these things, that's gonna really cut back on some of that. What are some of the other things, as drawbacks or challenges with social media?
Yeah, so there are some drawbacks. We already addressed the time consuming nature of social media. But you're also putting your brand into a zone or a space that's vulnerable to negative feedback and getting entangled in issues, maybe political issues. So that could be, a kind of a drawback as well. And do you know what I mean by that, Peter, or do you want to further explain?
Oh, we had an instance of a commercial building company that's posting information about their latest project and getting feedback from unrelated almost, but getting feedback about the you know, like the environmental impact of the development, for example, right? So just be aware that if you put information out there, that it's visible for the world. So in some cases, most of the time it's not a problem, but there's been instances that, you know, it goes into a rabbit hole that you don't really want to go, and that kind of you know, creates a little bit of an issue. So what is maybe Katie, you can answer this question, like if you get, I'm not sure if anybody's familiar with this. If you are, then just give us the thumbs up, or you know, let us know. But what are some of the, Katie, maybe you can answer this one, like how can you actually remedy some of these things? Like what would you recommend when that starts to happen?
Yeah, so anytime you get comments in on a social media post, essentially they are visible to everyone. So you want to kind of treat it like any other review you get, whether good or bad. You want to respond to it, address it, show that you actually care about your audience's input, show that you are able to kind of find a solution if possible, and if need be, take the conversation to a more private platform such as direct messaging or email.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, and one strategy that we highly recommend is taking that discussion offline, if at all possible. You know, you see, oftentimes when you reply to something online, you put fuel on the fire, especially if it's an unhappy client. That's for Google. That's reviews as well. And Lana, you're putting something in the chat box about that. Sometimes when there's not a good review, by just getting into an argument is the last thing you want to do. So if at all possible, try to you know, take that discussion offline if possible, and then kind of try to resolve that. So there's a couple questions in this chat box. Maybe we should address those.
Yeah, so Shirley is wondering, can your business platform get hacked like your personal account on Facebook can? Yes. Unfortunately, there are ways, just because with your business profile, it is often linked to a personal account. So anytime your personal account is compromised, it means your business platform is compromised as well. So you want to kind of, there are steps that Meta has implemented to increase safety implementations on their platforms. So it's always good to kind of make sure those are up to date, make sure you have a strong password, and you regularly update that password as well.
Yeah, no, it's very possible. Meta is introducing, you know, or has introduced for a long time ago already, like the two-step verification. That's something that's going to be mandatory if it's not already is. But yeah, like the weird thing about Meta is that you need to have a personal Facebook account to actually, like we're running a business, okay? Like we do this some of the work for some of our clients, but we actually have to attach our personal Facebook accounts to these business accounts. It's really backwards. Like Google has it separated. You have an actual account for business, but Meta doesn't, which kind of creates a little bit of an issue sometimes. So that's a very good question. Yeah, and then Lana is saying like putting posts asking for Google reviews. Yeah, I think that is, of course, you're opening it up for any kind of review, right? So then that's kind of the nature of how that works these days. So is it a risk? Yeah, it probably is a risk, but it's probably a risk worth taking, especially if you're pretty confident that you're providing a good service. And I know you guys are. So is there anything else in the chat box that we can talk about?
Yeah, just a response to Lana's question. It's good that everyone's kind of interacting and providing responses, so I definitely encourage that.
Okay, cool. All right, and then the other thing is, so be prepared for some negative feedback sometimes, right? Which is not a negative feedback is not necessarily a bad thing. It's how you deal with it and how you respond to it, right? And everybody knows that there's no business that's perfect, right? So it's oftentimes how we react and how we deal with that. So if you have 5 stars from each and every client that you ever dealt with, and you have hundreds of reviews, people are almost suspicious about them, right? Like there's something's not quite right. The one drawback from social media that we are aware of and make our clients aware of is that you don't own the information that you put out there on social, right? That's in the fine print, so you have to be okay with that. In essence, you're renting that space from them, and they are in control. They are also in control of changing the rules on you, and they've done that several times. So again, if you never want to put all your eggs in one basket as far as your marketing and your new lead generation goes, because it can go really well for a while, but again, when the algorithm changes or the policies change, then of course, if that's your only source of new business, then you're going to be left with nothing. So that's not a good strategy. So keep that in mind as well.
Mhm.
And the last thing is conversions from likes and interaction and engagement even. Like it's sometimes hard to measure how many of those people are actually bought, right? And that actually became clients. Does that make sense? Is that what you're kind of trying to say, Sarah?
Yeah, exactly. So for an example, say your business has an Instagram account and it has 50,000 followers. That's great. And then you post something about, a sale upcoming and 20,000 people like that. Well, this doesn't mean that those 20,000 likes are going to become paying customers. It simply means that they liked that post and they liked your content. And so that makes the conversions from likes to becoming customers kind of difficult to measure. So that's one drawback, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there's another question.
Yeah, so Mark will actually have that addressed a little later on in the presentation, but yeah, definitely great questions, and we'll look at that in a few minutes here.
So it's fair to say, I think, that everybody can benefit from social media, like from a business context. Okay, like let's focus on the positives. So in our opinion, like some industries are naturally a better fit, I think, for social because of the lifestyle products or services that they provide. So for example, like retail and e-commerce, right? People spend countless hours researching things online before they purchase something that they're interested in and engaging with those brands. Food and beverage is another sector, of course. We all like to eat and talk about food and all those things. Beauty and fashion, again, travel and tourism, things that people are naturally interested in. And on a Sunday afternoon, they spend an hour or two to research things, right? So this list is definitely not complete. There's other industries, of course, as well. But I think as soon as you have a lifestyle, kind of like a fun business that actually people are naturally interested in, your social media strategy or your efforts will probably go a little easier for you if you again, you have to do it right, but you have fewer issues with trying to come up with content, generally speaking. Whereas for if you're more into a business to business world, you're actually you're dealing with a different clientele, right? Like for example, if you have a welding shop or a manufacturing shop, people may or may not necessarily at night try just for fun try to research what you're doing. Like they generally have a purpose before they actually contact you. Industrial manufacturing, legal and financial, again, not that they're not nice businesses or good industries, but let's face it, not many people are always interested in learning more about that. So that's also there's when it comes to medical and pharmaceutical, and I think legal and financial as well, there's also a lot of regulations that you need to abide by, like the content you're putting out, promises you make. So you got to be extra careful again as well. So those are just, if you fall in any of those industries, I think you would naturally probably agree or from your own experience know that it was either a struggle or it was actually going smoothly. So just by show of hands or maybe something in the chat box, like who feels that their social media approach is really has done a lot of good for their business, the success story you want to share. I'll just give you a few minutes to think about that. So the first thing, and we go back to where we started out with, like coming up with the plan before you jump in too deep. So, the another name of a plan is, like a strategy, social media strategy. So, maybe Katie, you want to maybe talk about some of these things that, because you're working with these and you're actually developing these for clients, like what are some of the things that we need to think about when we come up with this plan?
Yeah, definitely. So social media, as we kind of already discussed, is something that is very overwhelming if you so imagine jumping into the middle of the ocean and then you have no life preserver. It's essentially doing that if you jump into social media without a strategy. So the strategy kind of essentially helps you in regards to establish what you want to post, when you want to post it, and where you want to post it. So define your goals. Are you hoping to grow your followers? Are you hoping to grow engagement on your posts, comments, likes? Are you hoping to kind of grow your brand as well? Again, so determine your audience, your message, and your channels. So this kind of helps to know what customers you already have, what customers you're hoping to attract on social media. You can also go as far as to create personas. So these are kind of fictionalizations of the audience that you want to attract and maybe not want to attract as well. Your message, so general tone of voice, who you are as a business, define that, and then what channels. So you can go as far as even asking your existing customers what platforms they are on, just so you can have a more concrete idea of what channels to approach. And then analyze your competitors, see what platforms they're using, but also what kind of content they're putting out. Do you notice any gaps that they're not kind of providing your customers and that you could fill that gap? And then choosing, again, a sustainable post frequency, as Peter and Sarah had already discussed earlier. Kind of do what works best for you, just because essentially social media is a full-time job. You're having to create the content, create graphics, schedule the posts, monitor the posts, respond to comments. So you have to kind of be able to establish a frequency that is retainable for you. And then creating a content calendar. So creating a content calendar is a great benefit for any kind of content you're putting out, not just social media. So blog posts, email campaigns, planning ahead, whether it's a month to 3 months or 6 months in ahead of time, having that content created ahead of time, it also makes things easier for you, but you also kind of guarantee that you are staying on schedule as well.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for clarifying that. So that maybe answers one of the questions out of the chat box. We actually have a template that we can share with anybody that's interested. It's a very simple template. It's actually in Google Sheets, but it works because it's you can actually plan ahead. So now, one of the worst things you can do when it comes to your social media is always being under the gun of posting the next thing. For most people, that's very stressful. And let's face it, you may not actually have content planned or ready to go. So by planning it in advance, we all know that certain sales events or trade shows or just holidays are coming up, right? They come back every year. So I mean, if you can kind of, it doesn't mean that you can't post anything in the spur of the moment. Like, we actually encourage that. That's actually a good thing if you can make that work. But at the very least, your basics are covered by this social media plan. And if we do that for you, or if you do that with your team, your CEO or whoever's involved in the decision making can actually like give their final approval on that as well. So everything that goes out is actually makes sense. So that's the information you're pushing out. And then one of the questions in the chat box from Pablo is, is it advisable to have a company policy that discusses employee social media? And that's a really good point, right? Like, and the answer is yes, it would be a really good thing to have in place. First of all, your corporate channel, you want to take control of that, right? You want to control that. That's something that your company owns. So you have something to say about that, right? You can actually talk to your employees about that and say, this is like, we control this, or like we need to make sure that there's quality control from the things that go out. But when it comes to the social media, their own personal social media accounts, you as a business have very little influence on that, right? And that may be something that you're referring to here. I think that has more to do with, you know, trusting your team, but also some education and making sure that everybody understands what the company is trying to do. But that's definitely an area that is difficult to police, right? Because you can't possibly check upon all your employees, and I know you have quite a few, what they're doing in their spare time on social, right? So definitely that's a really interesting area. So thanks for that question. Katie or Sarah, you guys have anything to add to that?
No, I think you covered it pretty well, Peter.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, so like the political views, right? There you go again. And anything can be political these days, right? Like even building a beautiful apartment building in Kelowna, what's the example that I mentioned earlier? You can twist it in a way or turn it in a way that it becomes political. So just be aware of that. So, yeah. So any other things that from the chat box that we need to address, Katie?
No, I don't think so, but I think for anyone who hasn't developed a social media plan or an overall marketing plan or strategy, I think is beneficial to kind of look at that as well, even if you are well into developing a presence on social media.
Yeah, it takes a lot of the guesswork out of it and a lot of the stress out of it. So that's, you know, once we introduce this concept of the content plan and have it developed, you know, it gives you this peace of mind that you're going to be okay. I know for a fact Edge's social media is put together till the end of, I think, January, right? So I mean, I feel really good about it because then I know, okay, like we don't have to scramble through this. We actually have a plan to make it happen. So then we get onto the big question. You know, like what platform should I be on, right? Like, first of all, we've answered the question, should I be in social media? Now we're trying to answer the question, like what platforms? And this trips up a lot of people, I think, including myself, because there's, you know, we'll give you the top 10 or the top 5 big platforms that everybody talks about. But there's a gazillion, hundreds of other platforms as well out there that we don't even know about, right? So Sarah, like what are some of the ideas you have around, you know, the like if a small business needs to choose like 1 or 2 channels, like how do we do that? Like how do you go about that?
Definitely, that can also be overwhelming. Yeah, first, if you've decided your business is going to be on social media, now you got to decide out of all the platforms, which ones do you want to go on to? So things to consider here, where do your customers hang out? And it's what Katie suggested earlier is you can ask current customers which platforms they are on, and that might indicate that, yeah, you're going to be on Facebook. You can do lots of research and kind of back work to see what competitors are up to, which platforms they are on as well. And through your research, you're going to understand each platform and which audiences are on the platforms and the types of content also that are typical for those platforms. And I think in the next slide, we do share kind of a list of platform options for you for social media. So we'll get to that in a minute here. But another thing to keep in mind is your available resources to your business. So for an example, you might want to, or you might not want to select TikTok if you don't have a way to do video creation, because we know that platform is highly visual. So keep in mind of your resources in creating content as well.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty wise to take a communication form that you're familiar with or that comes easy to you. For some people, that's writing. For some people, that's speaking. There's all kinds of options now. We have to turn spoken word into text, for example, transcription. Some people just do video because that's the easiest platform or the method for them. So there's no right or wrong answer. It's just what your business, what your team can produce on a consistent basis. Something that comes natural to you, like go with some of that content, and with that content comes then like what kind of channel is most appropriate to that, correct?
Right. And yeah, you may be familiar with these platforms, and maybe your business is already utilizing some of these platforms. So this is just an overview. So on Facebook, there is a general population there. It's diverse, but has a declining user engagement. Instagram, that is where millennials and Gen Z folks hang out, so younger folks. It's highly visual, and there's a strong influencer marketing element to that as well, but you can have lots of engagement as well. Twitter, which is now called X, that's a news and political discussion-based platform, so you can get real-time information, share news and updates as well, but you could also open up a kind of a political issue aspect for your business there. And then LinkedIn. And Peter, do you want to tell us about why you suggest LinkedIn to some of the clients?
Well, yeah, LinkedIn is really, especially if you're in the business to business world, LinkedIn is kind of the new way of networking, right? Like I'm pretty big into networking, Chamber of Commerce, local service clubs, anywhere where you can talk to people. It's really good for your business, right? We all know that. And like networking is one of those skills that we all need to practice. I think to a certain extent, especially after COVID, LinkedIn has kind of taken over a lot of that face-to-face networking, although it's still going on, and I'm not minimizing it, and I think it's great. But in a way, LinkedIn allows you to do, networking on steroids, right? Like you can connect with so many people, and people are in the business. Of course, there's other people on LinkedIn that want to sell to you. Okay, we just need to accept that. But it's a really a good platform because it's transaction oriented or relationship oriented. People are on LinkedIn for a reason. So either promote their own business, but also to connect with you, right? And vice versa. You can actually, find your own audience on LinkedIn, especially if you are in the business, you sell to other businesses. So we found it very beneficial. It's LinkedIn doesn't get talked about a lot, right? Not a lot of people think about LinkedIn, but from our experience with our clients, that's actually probably one of the first things you need to be on. If not, something you should seriously consider.
Right. And again, here we also have listed TikTok, which is, a platform where a lot of the younger generations are, the Gen Zs and even younger than that. And it's a highly visual content as well that's very short form. So think 10-second videos for that one as well. Listed, we also have YouTube. Maybe you're familiar with that. YouTube, is highly visual as well. And there's a diverse amount of content, and it kind of fits for everybody. There's a niche on YouTube for everyone and every business as well.
Yeah, so like not a lot of people know this, but YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world.
Right.
And of course, it's owned by Google as well. But a lot of people, and I know myself, like I like to go on trips with the RV, so I'm always upgrading and boosting my RV with all kinds of things. I tend to watch a tremendous amount of videos on how to do stuff, right? And I think a lot of people like that video content more so than actually reading an article on it. So YouTube can be a tremendous asset for your business as well, because if you make valuable content that solves somebody else's problem, you get a lot of exposure by that, right? So that's definitely, there's not a lot of interaction, right, Sarah, in YouTube necessarily, although you can comment on things, but it's more about positioning yourself, your business, as the expert in whatever you're doing, right? And video is a really good format for that.
Right. And creating user-friendly content, solving their problem. And I use YouTube all the time to figure out plumbing issues. So yeah,
exactly. Right.
A great option.
Yeah. So if you're not on YouTube, you should probably, it's relatively easy to build up a repertoire of videos.
Mm-hmm.
And you get a lot of exposure because of it, right? Because people are looking for that information. So some content tips. So, okay, like content, of course, is definitely one of the biggest challenges with all this. Writing the content, coming up with the photos, coming up with the videos. It seems that's probably the most overwhelming part of social media, in my opinion. So what are some of the tips that people can take home to maybe do a little bit better job on that?
Yeah, so I can share about a rule for you, and it's called the 80-20 rule. And basically the way to explain it is 80% of your content that you post on, say, Facebook will be giving something to the reader. It will be sharing a tip, some useful information, and then 20% of the post that you have will be a withdrawal. That's your hard ask, your sell, your sales information. And you want to make sure that you have a balance between those types of content, but heavier weight on the deposit side, giving something useful to the viewer. We also suggest to post on a variety of topics. So you don't want to post repetitive salesy information over and over and over. You want to post helpful articles, maybe a photo of your team and staff, and you want to share info that helps them solve a problem. We also have here as a tip, make it personal. So you can make your business social media post personal, but you want to stay true to your brand. And this is a big tip that I think, yeah, kind of supersedes everything, is plan and develop content ahead of time. So Katie, yeah, shared about the content calendar. So when you plan and develop content ahead, that gives you time to plan everything out, assess what you're going to do, create the content, and you won't be posting on the fly or anything kind of last minute. And that gives you a good way to manage your time as well on social media.
Okay, anything else to add to that, Katie?
Yeah, just on the point of the making it personal.
Yeah.
Essentially social media platforms are exactly that. They're social platforms. People enjoy getting to know the people of your business, the people who are going to be helping them when they decide to purchase your product or service. So we've always found that a lot of the posts we make for our clients, the posts that receive the most engagement are the ones that are the personal ones, that we're introducing the team members, or there's a behind the scenes photo of someone working on something.
Yeah, oftentimes, and you probably know this already, like oftentimes the posts that we think have the least value, get the most exposure, right? Like if it shows who you really are, like the people behind the business. Let's face it, with all the digital things we're doing, people are still buying from other people, and social media is a perfect avenue to kind of show your personality. So don't be afraid. Just be yourself. That's, I think, the big takeaway here. Like, don't try to be somebody that you're not, because it's really hard to keep that up, and people pick up on that right away, right? We're very good at picking up fake. So yeah. One last thing, I guess, has to do with some graphics, because like graphics is another thing that trips up a lot of people. So especially on the video side of things, but also on just making a simple graphic to post on Facebook. If you're not a graphic artist or you don't have the tools, it's sometimes challenging, right? So again, Sarah, you want to say a few things about that before we move on?
Sure. Yeah. So a graphic tip, yeah. Utilize video. We know video on places like Instagram and Facebook, it makes the algorithm happy. So if you want to appease the algorithm gods, use a video, and it will also increase your engagement as well. Kind of what Katie mentioned there is staying true to your brand. So you want to do that visually as well. And you can use templates in programs that are, well, like Canva. You could use that template to create images that will give you some guidance there. So not everyone is a graphic designer, but you can use a template that will help you out and use your brand images and things that you need to incorporate in there as well. I don't know, Katie, if you wanted to talk about the image sizes for social platforms.
Yeah, so just kind of jumping back to the templates quickly. The templates not only allow you to stay on brand, but it also is a huge time saver, because sometimes it's as easy as swapping out a bit of content or an image, and then it's done and ready to go. Yeah, Anna had mentioned CapCut, a free video editing app that you can use on your phone. Yeah, so definitely utilize any tools that are out there to your benefit, like CapCut for video editing. I know Instagram or Meta now has video editing and right on their platform as well. Canva, again, is another great tool that you can either use the free version or a paid version as well. Both are kind of beneficial in their own ways. And then using the right images sizes. So different platforms have different image specification sizes. So with Instagram, you want kind of more that square box image sizes. Well, with say Facebook and LinkedIn is a more rectangular shape. So you kind of want to research the exact specifications, the pixel sizes that you'll need for posting on there.
Yes, and Canva makes that fairly easy as well.
Yeah, Canva is a free program everybody can sign up for, and yeah, it works quite well. Also, pay attention to what's coming down the pike as far as social or AI, artificial intelligence. Like everybody knows, everybody talks about it. We start to see some really interesting developments there for automated or augmented content creation. I don't believe that we're going to be out of business anytime soon, but I do see the possibility. So again, we're following that closely and see how we actually can help our clients get better and faster and cheaper in a way, create some of that content and still engage with their audience. So our last slide is, social media best practices. I think we talked about most of them. Start with a strategy, have a plan before you jump in. Be consistent in your posting, but also in how you present yourself. Provide real value. Don't try to sell them anything. People hate to be sold to these days, right? So make sure you provide actually interesting information that's either entertaining or that actually helps them to solve a problem for free. In our opinion, it's better to choose a few channels and get really good at it before you jump in too deep on the latest and greatest shiny object that comes out there. Just a bit of a tip there. And make sure that the money or the time you invest in all of this actually has a return in whatever your goals are. If it's more sales, if it's more awareness, you need to find a way to actually measure some of those things. We already talked about a paid advertising option. Again, we believe that's a very important part of your social media strategy, and it's relatively easy to do, and it can really boost your engagement and your exposure. So I think we've talked quite a bit, and we talked maybe a little bit too much. And again, in the spirit of our presentation, we're not here to sell you anything, but if you do need help with any of this or want additional information about this, we can definitely provide that for you. So we can either work with you on creating this calendar, or we can create a calendar and the content for you. So those are some of the services that we provide, and most of you already know this. So at this point, I want to thank everybody for your participation and your questions. I want to open it up now for a bit of a Q&A. If there's any burning question that you have about anything that we discussed or something that's related or unrelated, we're here to help. So either put it in the chat box, or if you want to just open up that microphone and that camera, we're all for it.
Would you be able to send us that template that you said you guys are talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we can send it to you, Bart. There's no problem. Yeah. So it's basically it's a very simple spreadsheet with a bunch of sheets that you can at least something that to organize what you already probably have in different documents in different places, and that's really all you probably need, right? As far as I'm a firm believer of keeping it as simple as possible in a way, because yeah.
Trying to overcomplicate it doesn't help.
No, exactly, right? Yeah.
Thank you for this.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah.
Yeah, I know it was kind of a lot of information to kind of take in at all at once. So if you guys have any questions after the fact and you kind of have time to process things, you can always feel free to email us or phone the office, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Yeah, no, for sure. And thanks, Sarah and Katie, for an excellent presentation there.
Thank you.
I have a quick question.
Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
So I know that some social media posters that are posting on behalf of either their own business or a third-party business, they work really hard to create some engagement. And so it sometimes it feels forced, but they work to see if they can get a survey. Hey, what do you guys think about this? And how does everybody feel about this? And sometimes they're asking questions about completely unrelated topics of like the upcoming Super Bowl or something like that. They're just trying to get some back and forth with their audience. I don't know. What's your thoughts and comments about that?
No, I think it's good to get that engagement, right? Like just providing the information is one thing, and people may or may not see it, but you would never know, right? Like, so the engaging questions or the little polls, first of all, if it's a Super Bowl, right? Like now all of a sudden you're talking to something personal, right? You may have a personal preference for a team, for example. Those things really get people going more so than talking about your business. In your case, property management or property investment. With all respect, Bill, like for some people would consider those somewhat boring topics, right? It's same and no different than digital marketing, right? So yeah, like I think the reason why we do that from time to time is just like first of all, though, you have to keep in mind, I think what's really important, that it needs to be real, right? Like it needs, like if you have an external company doing this for you, for example, you better make sure that they speak your language and actually, support the right team, for example, right? Otherwise they go like, well, Bill is an Oilers fan, so what are you talking about, right? I mean, people spot a fake from a mile away, especially online. So, but yeah, generally speaking, I think it's really good to get that engagement. Katie or Sarah, you want to say anything about that?
Yeah, just kind of elaborating on Peter's point is it's always good to stay on brand. Like if you are a company that is, say, again, a construction company, you wouldn't necessarily kind of say, oh, what's your top vacation spot outside of the country? You want to kind of stay within your current brand and also kind of have not only to grow engagement, but also use it as an opportunity to gather information from your customers, from your audience. So while it may seem like something a little bit off topic, you kind of want to see if you can be able to glean any information from it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for the question, Bill. Anybody else?
No, I think that was a very good seminar. Thanks a lot, folks.
Thank you, Neil. Thanks for coming out. Appreciate it. Again, we'll send you the the slides. We'll send if you're interested, just email us, Bart. We could put you on that list for the spreadsheet. Just put it in the chat box if you would like. Put your email in there if you would like to receive that. But at the very least, the slides will be shared and so you can actually look at it again. We can definitely talk more if you'd like to. But yeah, thank you for everybody for coming out. I know it's probably time to go to lunch if you haven't already eaten. So again, thanks. We'll do this again in the new year. So you'll be invited. So again, thanks to everybody for coming out. I'm just going to stick around for a couple more minutes. And somebody's hopefully copying all these emails that are coming into the chat box before we close this meeting. So thanks again, and have a good rest of your day.